Down in the Dugout, powered by Scout Scoops. Dugout, the show that covers everything baseball and so much more. Want to welcome everybody in. Tonight we have our typical co-host that we usually have on Monday, and that's going to be Chris Owija, Chase Bass, and of course Scott Spindler. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Bob.
Hey,
How are you?
everybody. What's going
How's it
on?
going?
Good, no problem. Good weeks, everybody. Good weekends, maybe I should say.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
A little crazy, but yep, definitely.
it's always a little crazy. Always.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest, there are no days off right now. No days
Nope.
off. None.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. I totally agree. It's just insanity right now with everything.
Now, I'm not complaining. I mean, I
Nope.
write video games for reviews for a living and play games and all that, but there's a lot more outside of life that happens. But yeah, it's just crazy right now, and I think I'm ready for I'm ready to know what a true day off feels like again. But anyways, we want to welcome everybody aboard. Those of us who are watching us on Twitch, and of course those who will watch a little bit later on YouTube and listen on Anchor. So thank you all for joining us this evening. But first, we want to get into a little bit just baseball in general. Yeah, Scott, what's on your mind?
Well, I mean, obviously, Thursday. The
Yeah.
season starts on Thursday,
Yeah.
and this is the time of year we all kind of wait for all year. I was watching a bunch of games this weekend, and I kind of moving in and out of different games and different teams' feeds, and it's just nice to see the game back. Just nice to see people in the stands again. Last year, obviously, it was nice that we got baseball in some form, but just having nobody in the stands, in the stadiums. I mean, we could sit here and say it didn't affect the game, but let's face it, it wasn't the same. It's just nice to have people back. And I know, some of the stadiums are going to go with smaller capacities to start, except for the Rangers. I think they're going 100%. But I could definitely, the way things are trending, it looks like, we're going to start to see some of these stadiums open up more and more as the summer goes on. So it's exciting. I'm definitely excited about it. And obviously, we've got MLB The Show coming soon. And we're deep into Out of the Park. So it's a great time to be a baseball fan.
Yeah, well said. What about you, Chase? What's going on there, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Same things Scott said, piggyback off that, man. Just waiting for Thursday. I don't know about most of you guys, but my team, we still got a game today and tomorrow. And then, Thursday we get it going. This is the time of year where we start to ramp up, too, as a group, drop the start of baseball season and then the start of MLB The Show as well. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to all that right now, just taking it day by day, but definitely looking forward to Thursday and getting baseball season started for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Chris, talk to me about the White Sox and being a fan. Obviously, we talked about Eloy's injury. Have we gotten over that pass, and have we been able to refocus now on the team that's still there, the talent that team still has to overcome
He still looks
that?
a little upset to me. I don't know.
It still hurts.
Does it still hurt?
It still hurts.
Does it?
You're rolling around with the red batting glove in your pocket on your way to the store?
Yeah, I was going to say Jose Abreu took the field and was batting with a red glove, one of Eloy's gloves in his back pocket, and brought a little tear right here. No, it still sucks. I've come to terms with seeing what they did today. They've kind of finalized the bench. They brought in Lamb, who just got released from Atlanta.
That's a nice
though it's
pickup.
not really official yet. It's an interesting one. He's a La Russa guy, but he's got some on base skills that we'll see how much he's going to actually be able to play.
He's got some pop too.
Yeah.
He's got some pop in that bat.
Yep, but they also surprisingly released Jonathan Lucroy, who I thought for sure was going to make it as the backup, and they're actually going with 3 catchers now. So it's exciting for guys like Collins and Yerman Mercedes to actually get a shot. Especially Mercedes, his story is one of those classic minor league grinders, been in systems bouncing around for years, and then he finally gets a shot. So Vaughn looks okay in left. He made a decent throw, the limited action that I saw of him out there over the weekend. But I mean, I guess it is what it is until if none of these guys pick it up, I guess they're looked to go outside the organization. But I guess for right now, I guess it's nice to see Vaughn. He's going to get he's going to get consistent playing time. They're not going to play any service time games with him. He should be on the team, to start the year. So that's good to know. And just go from there, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking to a scout over the weekend about the Andrew Vaughn thing, and
Name dropping.
Well, I won't drop the name, but he did tell me that he thinks that Andrew Vaughn is going to surprise some people in the outfield. So,
Yeah.
So I was kind of,
I'm
glad to hear that for Chris.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope so
Yeah.
because there's
And
a lot
honestly,
of. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, if you look at like Eloy's production, advanced metrics in left field, he's been absolutely terrible and has hurt the team much more than he's helped.
Yeah.
His ratings are all negative, and honestly, you just need Vaughn to go out there and just play average. That's it, and it's a huge boost.
Absolutely.
And he should be, if he's young enough, he should be able to handle it. It was funny to hear his comments. He said something like, anything that goes to my right side when I'm out there, I go get. Anything that goes to my left side, that's Robert. So he's at least he knows, like, I'm not messing around out here. I'm not gonna go out of my way to be the savior. He's just gonna go out there and play. And it should be interesting. I for all we know, this might actually end up working out in the long run. I wouldn't be surprised if he possibly stays out there for a season or two down the road, and they end up just saying Eloy's just going to be the DH. When he comes back. Just if it ain't worth putting him out there. This isn't the first time Eloy's hurt himself out there. So he ran into the net last year. He hurt his foot in celebrating Giolito's no-hitter. So I mean, he's very clumsy, you could say. So I guess anything to get him off the field. And the Sox have two of the best DHs in the history of the game connected to the organization, and Frank Thomas and Jim Thome. So I'm sure that they can teach him a thing or two about staying in the game and being productive out of the DH spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I hope Vaughn does work out for you guys, because there's a lot of excitement over there, and justified excitement. And you hate to see something like this happen. But, if Vaughn can go there and just be invisible to where nobody notices what he's doing, that means he's doing his job well enough. I think it's a win until you guys figure out what the long-term goal there is for the season. So good for you guys. On the other side of the city, the good side, north side, obviously as Cubs fan, found out today that Rizzo and the Cubs are, not close to an extension, and a lot of the Cub community, Cub fan base, is really upset about that. And and I get it, rightfully so. Me, not so much. I don't care. Yeah, he doesn't fit into the Cubs' plans. I love him, and I will always love him. I love his passion. I love his energy, and I love what he brings to the field every day. But he's been with the organization for 11 years. The Cubs are obviously moving in a younger position, in a different direction. I'd like to see him get an extension, but nothing crazy, because this is a business. And I want to make sure that financially the Cubs are healthy 2, 3, 4 years from now, and handing out bad contracts just because of what they've done in the past is no longer an MO of Ricketts and the organization. It just isn't. So we'll see. But we also talked about it. There's not a lot of depth in that organization when it comes to first base. But, there's always moves that can be made. Always. Free agents that can be signed, stopgaps, whatever you want to call it. So, but anyways, I'm with you guys. I'm ready for baseball. For me, this is like Christmas.
Yep.
It just is. That opening day, I just sit there and I just absorb baseball from the second the cameras go on to the second they shut off that evening. So, I'm excited. I can't wait for it. We've talked about it. I'm neck deep in OOTP right now also. Just having a blast with that. It just got the review done. It's out, or it should be out tomorrow on Operation Sports. So, but we're talking about baseball, and we're on the precipice of it right now. Of it right now. So let's go ahead and talk kind of the marquee items of Major League Baseball, if we will. Let's go ahead. I want to hear from each of you guys. I want to know who you think. We'll start off with the MVPs. AL, NL. Chris, who do you got?
I'll go NL because it's probably, I think it's the more boring chalk pick, but I'm gonna go Soto on Washington. I think the guy is just he's a superstar in waiting. If not, I mean he already is, but I think he's gonna be one of those guys that just holds down like a Trout. He's just always going to be in conversation for the next 4 or 5 seasons. And you know, even though I don't think the Nationals are necessarily going to have much of a competitive edge against that division, I think he's gonna be able to put up the numbers that stand out enough that gets him the recognition that he deserves. So for my AL, I'm going to go absolutely off the wall here. You guys are probably going to think I'm absolutely nuts with this, but my AL MVP is going to be Bo Bichette. If you look at his season 2019, before he got hurt, he was absolutely on fire. He was leading in extra base hits, like one of the youngest position players to ever have that many over the course of his first few games. And I just think that you look at the Blue Jays. I'm a big believer in the Blue Jays. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, even though the pitching staff may not be there yet. I think they're going to be adding to this team once everybody sees how good they are. That lineup is, and I just think he's going to have a hell of a season. Yeah, I'm a big fanboy of him. So it's call it crazy, but I don't think it's going to be somebody that. I don't think it's going to be a Trout. I don't think it's going to be somebody that everybody expects. I think it's going to be one of those surprise seasons this year.
Oh, he's definitely going to have opportunities up there. They got a hell of a lineup, and he's going to have an opportunity to put up some real numbers up there. So I would agree with you. So Chase, what about you, my friend?
For the AL, man, I'm going to stick with Mike Trout, man. You know, the Angels may not be good, but he's still the best player in the game, man, and his numbers are there every year. We know he's kind of on the downside on the defensive end last year. His numbers weren't as good as they had been in years past, but he's a table setter for them, man, and I expect him with 162 games. He's going to put up the same numbers he does every year. It's going to be hard not to, vote for the guy. Like, I like Chris's pick in Bichette, but they're going to lean Trout if he has another monster year. That's just the way it's gone for voting. On the NL side, man, we were just talking about this off air, man. It's tough, man. There's so many good players in the NL, but I'm going to go with Mookie Betts for sure, man, because as Mookie goes, the Dodgers go. Him and Seager at the top of the lineup, and you've seen it last year, man. He was the difference for this team to get into the World Series. He was the table setter at the top of the lineup. In my opinion, he had an MVP season last year. Went to Freddie Freeman, but yeah, those are my 2 picks, Trout and Betts. Top 2 players in the game win the MVPs.
I like that. I like those picks, actually. Scotty, talk to me.
I have to agree with Chase in the American League. I do think the Angels are going to be a little bit better this year than people expect, and I think that division. I think Texas is in big trouble. I just think that they have a lot of holes. I think they're going to be lucky to win 55 games this year. I think they're going to really struggle. Houston's going to come back a little bit. They're still the team probably to beat in the division. They're going to come back. I think Seattle's going to obviously be better, but I think the Angels can contend. I think they have enough now where they don't have that ace, that number 1 pitcher, but they have enough pitching to kind of stay in it. And I don't think any other team in that division can run away with it at this point. So I do think that if everybody stays healthy and Rendon's hitting and Trout is Trout, I think the Angels can contend, which I think would put Trout in a good position to win an MVP again. So I like Trout in the American League. The National League, obviously you can't go wrong with Mookie Betts or Cody Bellinger or any of those guys, but I'm going to go with something a little different. I'm going to go with Francisco Lindor. I think he's going to take the Mets. I think the Mets are going to have a big year. I mean, I'm a Phillies fan and I'm saying that, but I think Lindor. I'll be honest with you. I think the Lindor extension gets done before Thursday. I think we see an extension sometime this week. Probably 300, 320, 330, 340, somewhere in that range. They're going to lock him up, and I think he's going to go off in New York. I think he's primed for a huge year, and it wouldn't shock me to see him or Pete Alonso, one of those 2 guys in the MVP conversation with the Mets. I know we always look at the standings and, people predict the Mets, I guess the last 4 or 5 years to do a little bit better than they've done, but they are primed to have a nice season. I do think the Braves are still the team to beat, but the Mets are right there. Obviously, a team like the Phillies is going to have everything break the right way, to even be in the conversation. But I do like Lindor this year. I think he has a chance to be an MVP in New York.
Good enough. And if I'm not mistaken, you talked about that extension. I think I just read something where Lindor and Steve had dinner. Was it last night?
Yeah, they're gonna. I'd be very shocked if they didn't get it done before Thursday. It's probably going to be somewhere north of 300. 330, 320, 340. But I just don't see how, if the Mets offer him over 300 million, how he turns it down.
Right.
I think it's going to happen. I think he'll be locked up, and just think of how much money he's going to make in New York with the endorsements, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't see him leaving New York for a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's a great situation.
So,
go ahead.
I say, Bob, you going with Rizzo?
Well, it's Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller, absolutely.
He actually looked good. He's actually looked good this spring. He got sent down, but he actually was throwing. He was throwing pretty hard this spring. He actually had a nice.
People make fun of him, but
no, we're not making fun of anybody. No. I was actually impressed. I was a big Shelby Miller fan, so nice to see him come back.
Yeah, I'm going to go with in the AL. I'm just going with Trout, and there's a reason I like. And Scott, I want to get back to you talking about them being a possible contender, and I think it really is going to key on one guy in that lineup. It's not who you think, but I like Trout, and I like Trout this year because if you look at the projected lineups, you're going to have Ohtani in front of him, you're going to have Rendon behind him, and I can't remember the last time that Mike's had a 2 and 5 punch or 3 and 5 punch, however they make the lineup, in front and behind him like that. That's legitimate. I mean, you want to mess around with Ohtani, put him on base, fine. You got Trout coming after that. You want to mess around with Trout.
Watch out for Ohtani this year too. I mean, we're all talking MVPs. I mean, if he pitches somewhat decent this year and wins 10 or 14 games and hits 20 home runs and knocks in 70 or 80 runs, I mean. He might be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, so. Very well could be. I think it's. I think for that team, it all is going to depend on how. I think it's Fletcher, their leadoff guy. What Fletcher can do and how consistent he can be. He doesn't have to be. I'm not talking about being in the MVP race. I'm not talking about even being the MVP of the Angels. I'm just talking about being a solid, consistent leadoff guy to set the table for those three guys coming behind him. And if he can do that consistently, I think they are. It would not surprise me to see them in the 83 to 85 win total this season. So So I like Trout in the American League, and then over in the National League, Chase. I just got to go with you. I like Betts, and none of the guys, all the guys we've mentioned, all could win, and it wouldn't be a surprise. But I like Betts. In fact, I love Betts this year. A lot of people will lean towards maybe Tatis in San Diego, but I like what the Dodgers have. First of all, if he is leading off, we're talking about coming up behind Betts. We're talking about Seager and Turner and Muncy, and Jesus, it's a modern day almost murderer's row, really, and that's probably an overstatement, but not by much. I mean, I hate the Dodgers with a burning passion, but I love that lineup. I do. I love that lineup. And I wish it was playing on the north side of Chicago. So that's why I just think that lineup is too powerful, too impactful to work your way around Betts. And Betts is going to get good cuts all year long. And he's going to be in good positions. And obviously he's going to be on national TV quite a bit with that team. So a lot of eyes on him.
The thing with the Dodgers lineup is like if you walk one guy, you're like you really can't just pick who you're going to walk.
Yep.
You're going to run into that problem. Not every team has that.
Right.
That flexibility. I mean, San Diego kind of has that now. They got a pretty good lineup top to bottom. Atlanta has a lineup like even the Mets, but it's like you have to kind of pick your poison with LA, man.
Yeah, see, and we've talked about the dynamic between San Diego and the Dodgers all year long, and it is going to be a hell of a fun year watching those two teams play. But if you're asking me, well, what lineup are you scared of, Mo? I'm not, and this is no knock on San Diego, because obviously Tatis Jr. is great and Machado's great, and I like Hosmer, I like Pham, I like Cronenworth, but I like them. I love the Dodgers lineup, love it. You give me that lineup consistently, 162 games, I'll take it all day long, all year long. So anyways, so we talked about the AL and the National League MVP. We're all pretty much right there in the same boat. But let's talk about teams that, and we've talked a little bit, but teams that may surprise this year, that may sneak into the playoffs. May not, but teams that may surprise. We've hit on this a little bit in the past, but now that we're only a couple days away from opening day, Chris, talk to me about who you think in the American League and National League who could surprise some folks and maybe sneak their way into the playoffs.
I'll go AL first. I'm gonna go Seattle Mariners.
Okay.
Just because of that prospect depth, and if Kalenic ever does get a shot up there, I could see that lineup being productive enough to push across some runs. They have some interesting pitchers. If they maybe decide to add, Jerry DiPoto can't help himself. I mean, a trade's coming at some point with that organization. So I could see them potentially in a weak enough division, surprising people and sneaking in as a wild card team, possibly. Or I'm sorry, not as a wild card team. I think the wild card's coming out of a different division. But I could see them winning that division.
Okay.
Houston. I think Houston's on that downward slope. I'm not crazy about the Angels still. I just think there's just too many holes there. That pitching staff, the back end of that lineup is not impressive to me. And the A's too. I think the A's are going to blow it up. I don't like what they did this offseason. So I think they could definitely sneak in there and surprise.
Yeah. Okay. What about the National League?
National League, this one's a little tougher.
Say it. I know you want to.
I don't want to.
I know where he's going.
Those lovable losers could
talk to me,
find
Christopher.
They could find themselves in the playoffs for sure. I think
I agree.
The key with the Cubs for me is getting out of the gate extremely hot.
Okay.
If they do that, then they definitely have a shot. If they start slow and they fall into third and fourth, and they're 7-8 games out, then you're going to see them start trading some pieces off. But I could see them hanging with it, maybe not going crazy at the trade deadline, but getting a piece or two to help them out and possibly sneaking in there.
Okay. All right. I love you.
That hurt me. That hurt me a lot.
I love you. I want to give you a hug right now. All right. Scotty.
I feel like I'm starting on fire.
Scotty, talk to me. Who do you like?
My surprise team, and again, this isn't a team that I think is going to win a division. It's not a team that I think is going to, win 100 games, but it's going to be a surprise team, and I think it's going to have a shot to make the playoffs. But I think the Red Sox in the American League, I think people are just kind of counted them out. And, they had a bad year last year. Obviously we know what's happened last year with them, but I think their pitching is a little bit healthier. Sale will be back mid-season. I love Jarren Duran in center field. I think he's going to come up at some point early on and take over the center field. And he's actually one of my big contenders for Rookie of the Year in the American League. I love Rafael Devers. I think he's primed for a big year. So I really like what they've done to an extent. I still think they needed to add a little bit more, and they needed to add a few more pieces. But I do think that they have enough talent, and they are just have enough right now to hang around and cause some problems. And if they are close, I don't think they'll be afraid to maybe trade some pieces to go get what they need to, to contend. I don't see them trading the farm, obviously, because they're kind of in a rebuilding stage right now. But they definitely, I think they will definitely surprise some people in the American League. There's no doubt about it.
What about the National League?
National League, I do agree with Chris. I think the Cubs are a team that, that division, I think, is the reason why I would say the Cubs. I think that the Brewers and the Cardinals obviously is everybody's consensus for that division. And I think the Cardinals definitely have probably more talent than anybody. But I think the Cardinals have a ton of question marks. And the Cardinals pitching don't impress me. Besides Flaherty, it's kind of a crapshoot. And I think that the Brewers do have a lot more talent. I do like the Brewers defense. I like some of the key pieces they have. I think Yelich is primed for a comeback season. But besides that back end of the bullpen, their pitching staff has a lot of holes, a lot of question marks. They don't really have anything that scares you going into a series. I do like Brandon Woodruff. I think he's a good pitcher, but I still think that the Cubs have enough with Kyle Hendricks and some of the other guys they got. I think Arrieta's pitching a little bit better this year than he did with the Phillies for the 3 years he was there. And I do like Azalea, the rookie that I'm glad he got to stick with the team. They do have some pieces in the bullpen I like. I saw Rex Brothers actually made the team. Yep. That was kind of nice to see Rex make the team. He's kind of been injured and in and out of baseball for the last few years, so it was really cool to see him make the team. So I think the Cubs can hang around, and it just depends on what's going to happen. If they're close, will they try to add pieces, or will they just sell off and move forward like people are predicting they're going to? So I do think they can hang around. So we'll see. But it is kind of weird. It's I think the two teams, in my opinion, that could surprise some people and could both be in contention going towards the trade deadline. But it's all going to be up to the front offices which way these teams go, because the Red Sox and the Cubs are kind of in similar situations. I think the Red Sox are in a much better position long term, but I mean, look at the Red Sox. I mean, they could be in a position where they can move some of their pieces as well, even if they're in contention, and say, hey, listen, we know we're not going to win it this year. We may make the playoffs, but we're playing for next year. Like if Chris Sale comes back and has 2 or 3 or 4 starts and he looks like the old Chris Sale, what do the Red Sox do? Do they hang on to him?
Yeah.
Or do they say, or does a team that's looking for an ace pitcher say, hey, we'll give you a couple nice prospects for Chris Sale to finish out the season? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I'm going to go with the Cubs and the Red Sox.
Yeah. Okay. Chase, what about you, buddy?
For me in the AL, man, the sneaky team that's probably going to get in, probably going to be a wild card spot, Kansas City Royals, for sure. I actually think they'll finish second in the division. I'm not a believer in Cleveland. Offensively, dude, Cleveland does not. They got to figure out their outfield situation, and really all they got is Ramirez in the middle of that lineup. After that, man, in my opinion, they got nothing. Pitching side for Cleveland, I mean, they may hold up, they may not, you don't know. But for me, the sneaky team is going to be Kansas City. I'm a fan of the moves they made this offseason. And even long term, they're still in a better position than a team like Cleveland, So I feel like they'll sneak up. Whether they win a wild card spot or they finish second in that division, I think they make the playoffs in the American League side. For the National League side, I'm going to go San Francisco Giants. They showed signs last year coming on, and, I like some of the moves they made this offseason and some of the people they brought in, and they pretty much have the same core, that they had last year, and they're really young, too. They're also going to be good long term. You may see the Giants of old in the next 2, maybe 3 years. I feel like they could sneak in, get a wild card spot. I feel like the NL West is probably going to have 3 teams coming in the playoffs this year. I feel like San Francisco may get one of the wild card spots. That's my opinion.
I was going to say that I'm shocked that you picked the Dodgers to finish third in that division. No,
no, what's funny though is Case's 2 teams were my next, like when I was debating who I was going to pick for these 2 teams. The 2 teams I had in the American League and the National League were the 2 teams that Chase just went with. So I definitely think we're on the.
Like I really like the Royals, man. Like the Royals are like the team.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be like very, very sneaky, man. Like I feel like teams are going to sleep on them, and they're going to sneak up on some teams. Now they may not win the division. I mean, unless something happens to the White Sox, they just totally bomb or injuries take over. I feel like that's the only way Kansas City's gonna maybe win. But for me, man, I feel like Kansas City right now on paper is better than Cleveland.
No, I totally, 100% agree.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Period. Like just from top to bottom.
And what Cleveland did too. Like if you even look at like their roster construction heading into this year, Nothing against Jake Bowers, but to say that Bowers beat out Bradley for first base, I mean, spring training doesn't even matter then, because the two could not have been more opposite of each other in terms of what they did in spring training. And just to keep the guy just because he's out of options, when clearly Bradley looks on paper, at least, to be the guy who is going to be potentially your future first baseman down the road. And also he just was way more productive in spring training. Their outfield situation is just
it's bad.
It's a mess. I mean,
it's been that way for years.
They're moving
their
Rosario
outfield
as
yeah.
Rosario is going to be their center fielder. Like,
I don't necessarily like Naylor in the outfield either. I feel like he's more suited for first base. I know he dropped some weight. You know, he's trying to be more versatile, but long term, he's not an outfielder. You know, now maybe this year he'll surprise some people and he'll be better, but long term, man, you got to think long term. DH is probably Naylor. Bradley's your first baseman. Then you got to figure out your outfield, man. And right now, they have a ton of outfielders, but none of them can hit. None of them can field very well. I mean, I like Zimmerman, or Bradley Zimmer, but Cleveland don't like him apparently. So
so I think so.
It. By
this time,
you got to run Fernando Reyes out there every day.
So by this time next year, we're going to be talking about, as the season opens up in 2022, Shane Bieber with a new team. Will he be traded? Because I do think they're going to have a rough season, and I think going into the offseason next year. I mean, they don't really have many chips to rebuild that team. I mean,
Jose Ramirez. I don't think he sticks the whole year with this, especially if they fall off early. He'll be gone. I mean, I could see him keeping Bieber because they were already talking about an extension with him, but he's a possibility. I mean, you got Plesac, you got McKenzie, but McKenzie's really young and he's going to be around for a while. So it's like you only have Bieber and Plesac. Really, Savali. I mean, those are guys you could deal theoretically, but then you got to hope you get like a maximum return on investment there, man.
They do have the both Logan Allens that are in the baseball universe are both so they have those guys. But
I think the key with Indians is just like it's control and for how much. Like I would agree that like Savali and Plesac and Bieber make a lot of sense to move in terms of just getting prospect capital, but it's not how the Indians operate. They like to hang on to these guys until they get expensive. And they're not quite there yet. That's why I think they already have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. I think Jose Ramirez makes up like the vast majority of it too. I mean, he's like the only one that's like making over 10 million, I think. So
he'll
I just don't see him necessarily. I don't see him blowing it up, but I see them just kind of fading away. And then, I mean, they have some decent guys down there, and I'm sure they're going to draft well, and they're figure out a way to do it. They've always they've done this for the last 10 years where they kind of have a season that's not so good. They kind of hit the reset a little bit, and then they always manage to spring up and they have a great team all of a sudden. So I do think out of all those guys, Ramirez is the most likely to go somewhere. I mean, there's always going to be teams that need third baseman.
So I just had kind of off of this thing that we're talking about, going back to Kansas City a little bit, because I know we've been talking about them. When do you think we see Bobby Witt?
That's a good question. For me personally, I think he'll be up this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they'll wait till the service time clock. So, mid-April is probably when they'll call him up. And now I get the hesitancy from Kansas City's side. I don't necessarily think with them it was service time. I think it was more. He got 37 games professionally under his belt, and I think they wanted to give him some more seasoning. So that's my guess.
Yeah, I think we'll see him this year. I think, like you said, the service time thing, once that's up, come July, I think we'll see him, and it's going to be interesting to see. I think he's got a chance to be second base, or I think he's got a chance to play center field. Just depends on Nicky Lopez. I think if Nicky Lopez hits, he might end up in center field. If Nicky Lopez doesn't hit, I think he's going to end up in second base. So, Nicky
Lopez isn't even on the team right now.
Yeah, I mean,
They sent him down.
So they're going to roll with what, a combination of Hans or Alberto. Is that what it is?
Merrifield, I think, is
Merrifield's going to be the second baseman. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I mean,
I'm going to go on a limb and say that I don't think we see Witt at all this year.
No,
I think they're going to have. I just think they're going to let him play.
I could see that. I could see that too. I mean, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not hot and they're, I say like June, they're 10 games under 500. I mean, why bring him up? Especially if, I mean, it's not like he has had a lot of playing time in the minors. I mean, you easily could say he deserves to get some playing time down there.
No, I just think if they contend, he's up. I think if they're
I could see, I mean, if they start selling guys off too, I could see him being up to, like Chris said, you get to the deadline and let's say they're 10, 15 games below 500 and it doesn't look like they're going to get back out of the sinking ship and they start dealing guys. Why not? My personal opinion, you keep Witt in the infield, you move Mondesi to center field.
I mean, it makes sense with the speed. Yeah, but it doesn't. And from what I've been hearing, it sounds like they're intent on keeping Mondesi at shortstop. But we'll see how it plays out. I know they did bring in Michael Taylor for center field. I think it's him and Dyson going to share time in center field for now. Is that?
They've got a crazy versatile team. I mean, even Dozier can go out into the outfield if they need him to. He's played right field.
Merrifield could play in the outfield.
They could put him at first. Merrifield plays all over the place. I mean,
McBroom can play in the outfield.
They could put Witt at third for all you know. I mean,
Alberta,
they've got plenty of options.
Versatile.
I don't think that we're going to see him necessarily, but who knows? Because this is the same team that they shocked the hell out of me when they called up Brady Singer last year. I didn't understand that at all. Other than just to get him innings, like it didn't make much sense to me to start that service time clock on him.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. The one thing with Dave Moore is he's not afraid to pull the trigger. That's why I don't necessarily think Witt was service time. I think it was more, he only had the 37 games under his belt, and he needs more seasoning. And right now, if you look at their lineup, he really doesn't have anywhere to play every day. You kind of need him in there every day to get that experience. So that's what I'm saying. Once the season gets going, somebody gets hurt, or if they start selling off, or even if, like Scott said, if they become a contender, he could be a September call-up. He could be up there middle of June, July. Who knows? Yeah. You just if you want to move him around, move him around. But personally, I would keep him in the infield, and I'd move Mondesi.
Yeah, the scenario I see is if Kansas City gets hot, they're in contention. They're closer than people expected. If they're in second or third, or they're close, between them and the Indians and the White Sox, and Witt's tearing up the AAA. He's tearing up AAA. I don't see there's any way they keep him down. I think they got to bring him up. And I don't think Dayton Moore is afraid to bring him up. So. That's why I think we'll see him this year. But again, I could be wrong.
All right, so we've talked about surprise teams. We've talked about MVPs. Next in line, let's talk about possible Rookie of the Year for the National League and American League. Scott, go ahead. Who do you got as your Rookie of the Year in both the National League and American League? I have an idea who you're going to say in the National League. I'm interested to hear who you're going to say in the American League. Shoot it at me, my friend.
I like Jarren Duran with the Red Sox. I do think that he's going to get a lot of playing time. I think he's going to be up early. Bobby Witt would be my close second because I think we're going to see Bobby Witt this year. I think we almost saw him make the team out of spring training, and I do think the Royals are going to have a very hard time keeping him down all year. He's just an elite player. He's got all the tools. He's going to be special. So I think we will see him. But I like Jarren Duran. I think he's going to be a nice player for the Red Sox. I think he's going to slide into center field. Real nice stroke. So I mean, I would say Duran and Witt would be my 1-2 in the American League.
And National League.
National League. I mean, obviously everybody is going Brian Hayes. I think that's what everybody's talking. I'm going to go a little different. Yeah. I do like Brian. I think he's going to be a nice player. I think he's going to have a nice year. But I love Christian Pache with the Braves. I think he's talented. He's special. He's right there with Ronald Acuna as far as the tools and skills. He's maybe a step below. I got to see him a lot in spring training when he was, first coming up, and he's going to be a special player. So I do like Christian Pache a lot. I think he's going to be there, and I think Cabrian will probably be, in that conversation all year. So I think those two guys will be right there.
Now, Rosarina he's still eligible to be a rookie, isn't he? Yeah. So, what do you guys think there? You think any chance? Do we see the magic that we saw in the playoffs carry over and becomes consistent, or was it more of a, playoff?
I think the Cardinals hope not.
I don't envision a Rosarina being quite that good over the course of his career. I think it was just an extremely hot player.
Okay.
It was a great story.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
a lot of fun.
I don't think that's him. I don't think he has that much power over the course of a full season. He's probably an all-star guy at some point, but yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be the one that wins it.
Okay. Well, Kristen, who do you have winning?
Well, I mean, call me a fanboy, but I am going to go with Vaughn. I would not have gone with him had he started the year in the minors. But the only other real guy that I think is a threat would be Kalenic, and obviously he's not going to be on the team for the Mariners for at least as far as we know anytime soon. So I think Vaughn definitely has the bat. Just even seeing what I've seen in spring training, he definitely has patience that you don't usually see in a lot of young hitters. He hits the ball to all fields, and they're going to put him in the outfield now. I think he's going to do just fine out there. So he's going to build value on the defensive end too. But I think he definitely could be a surprise for some people. Maybe 20 home runs, 300 batting average. I think that's not out of the realm of possibilities with him.
Yeah. Well,
honestly, you could pick. There's tons of guys on the White Sox that could potentially be rookie of the year, especially if they make the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, you got Crochet, you got Michael Kopech is technically still eligible.
Yeah.
And if he goes into the rotation at some point, you got him too. I mean, Nick Madrigal is still eligible, though I don't think you're going to see him win it because he doesn't have any power. But no, I'm going to go Vaughn.
Okay. All right.
My fanboy pick.
All right. And then internationally?
I would have said Hayes, but I'll pick somebody different. I'll go Carlson on St. Louis.
Okay.
I've always liked him. He's a pretty solid player. St. Louis always has those guys that
always
just come up and just perform really well.
What do you like about Carlson?
He's just an all-around guy. I like the fact that he's not like anything super special, but I could just see him being like a 300 guy, good on base skills, some power. Just a guy that's going to drive the Cubs nuts. He's going to feast off of all those 89-mile-an-hour fastballs that rotation is going to throw at him.
There you go. Yeah. But you're right. That organization always finds a way to put someone out like that. So I can't disagree. I do like Cabrian, but it would not surprise me to see Carlson. Chase, who do you got? Show me your American League Rookie of the Year first, my friend.
In the American League, man, I have 3 different possibilities, man. I have Bobby Dahlbeck, Bobby Witt, Taylor Trammell.
Who wins out of those 3?
The one I think that wins out of 3 is going to be Dahlbeck because he's starting the year with the Red Sox. He's going to have the most playing time of the group, so he has a chance for the better numbers. In my opinion, I think he ultimately wins it on the American League side. But if any of the other 2 actually come up or stick around all year, I wouldn't be surprised if any one of the 3 wins it. For the National League side, I'm going to go with Spencer Howard, the Phillies. If they call him up and he pitches like he's been pitching in spring, for me, he'll be a lock because he should get enough innings under his belt if they call him up early enough. So those are my 2.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we got just a couple days until the season starts. We're all waiting for that, obviously. But before we get to the video game side, I just wanted to talk about, if we could, just a little bit about Jack freaking Leiter at Vanderbilt right now. Have you guys seen this guy's numbers this year? It's ridiculous. I feel sad that he has to go to the Pirates if he keeps pitching like this. But I think he's, if I'm not
mistaken, he just fell out of his chair.
That's why I said it. 6-0 with, I could be wrong, but isn't like a 0.25 ERA? and 60 strikeouts in like 35 innings or something like that. I mean, that's insane. And it's not like he's doing this against bad competition. So, and that whole pitching staff that Vanderbilt has right now is just insane. But I just wanted to bring that up. I had seen that, and I was like, this has to be a typo, right? And I've seen him pitch, but anyways. So let's go to the video game, and let's kind of just step out of the realm of baseball. Some big news if you're a video game fan today, especially if you like to hit with the old stick and ball, that would be golf. EA today announced they're rolling back into the scene with EA Sports PGA Tour Golf. You guys take notice of this?
Mm-hmm.
Excited?
Oh, yeah, definitely exciting. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. I think what's exciting is I'd love to see two major titles, and I'd like to see this in baseball also, two major titles that are going up against each other, because it brings out competition, it pushes each development team, and it how do I say this without making this? The suits kind of understand the competition a little bit more when there's two going up against each other. It's not always the bottom dollar or the bottom line that becomes more important. It's let's outdo them. So I'm excited about that for sure. So I don't think they've, and I don't know, maybe you guys have seen this. I have not seen a release date on it. I saw speculation because I know, I'll be honest, I heard rumors from people within that they started working on this well before this year. I heard rumors last year. Yeah,
yep.
that this was coming out.
Yeah.
I heard that the two things that could separate the two golf games that are coming up is with the golf club, you won't be able to play like you can't now. You can't play as the pros. But I heard with the EA game, you're going to actually be able to play as the pros. So I mean, that'll be, if that's true and that holds, that'll obviously be a separator. The whole Tiger Woods license with 2K is going to be big because the golf club, PGA Tour now, which was the golf club, is fantastic. I mean, it's just a great game.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's going to be interesting seeing EA with all those potential golfers in it, and they're obviously not going to have Tiger Woods in there. He's going to be on the other games, so it's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
Yeah,
I love Tiger Woods. I grew up with that game throughout high school. That was like one of my favorite games to play, and seeing it come back is great. I don't know. I haven't played a game since it went away. A golf game since it went away. So it's definitely something that, make me at least look at both of the titles and see if maybe it's something I want to get back into. But it's definitely exciting. It's interesting to see EA they're just starting to like open their vault and bring back all these titles.
Yeah. And let's hope a couple more make their way back. I won't mention names, but yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited about it just because I think they're going to go a little bit different route. What I'd love to see out of a golf title is to allow like a co-op season or career where people can play together along with the PGA Tour players. So it's all intermingled. Everybody's having fun and it's all done together. I would love to see that. No game has done that. PGA Tour doesn't do that right now. And I would just love that. Love to see a career co-op being pursued by EA. Not saying they're going to. I have no inside knowledge, but Chris, I would agree. I mean, I played the Rory series, and why beautiful. It was a bit bare bones. So, and the big complaint from EA was always that even with Tiger, it just didn't make enough money to be a tentpole title for him. And so I'm interested, and they've also complained about the cost that they incurred when they were trying to pursue and grab the naming rights and having like Augusta in there and big name courses. Those aren't cheap. They're not cheap at all. And so people are hoping to see all these big name courses come back. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. I think. Could be wrong. So
yeah, it's going to be
as long as they give. I was say, as long as they give people the option, like the other game, to build a course, I think that that might help lessen the blow a little bit, depending on what's in there. I think that's almost essential. You're going to need to have something like that in there.
It is interesting to see, you look at EA Sports overall. I mean, and Madden and FIFA obviously are their two, strong titles.
Right.
I mean, NBA Live is basically gone.
Yeah.
On and off. They just, they kind of destroyed that franchise for the most part. But it is interesting to see them going back to the, two of the games that were kind of two of their stalwarts, like the PGA Tour and NCAA. Obviously, these announcements both coming within the last few months, kind of back to back almost. So it is kind of cool to see because we obviously grew up with those games, and those games were a big part of a lot of people's lives growing up. So it is great to see. But you'll wonder, obviously we know what the reasoning is behind NCAA. We know that, there's going to be the whole licensing thing where they're going to, probably have that settled before the game comes out. So we know why they're going back to that. It was just very curious to see why they decided at this point to go back into golf. I mean, I think it's great for the video game fan and the golf fan, but is the golf market that big that it can handle 2 titles? I mean, we don't even have 2 baseball titles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, I think it's great, but I just don't see the golf market being that strong, the gaming market, that it can hold, 2 titles are going to be able to be successful. I mean, unless, EA just says, we're going to pour tons and tons of money into this and we're going to, we're going after the other title. But then again, I mean, 2K is already, they signed Tiger Woods, so
Right.
they're not letting go. They're not letting up,
Right.
and that's a great title. So it's just interesting. I mean, I hope the 2 titles can survive because I think competition is great for everybody. But it's just interesting to see that, we're going to have 2 golf titles and we don't even have 2 baseball titles, or we don't have 2 football titles, or, you know what I mean? It's just weird.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Bring
maybe
back
maybe
NFL
we'll get back to that. Maybe this leads to that.
Yeah, possible.
Well,
I could see 2K getting back into like college hoops again, if possible. I can see that happen because obviously they can't get an NFL license, but with Madden and EA. But I can see them, doing what they did with like All Pro Football, or even doing like a generic version of an NFL game, and then doing college hoops again. I could see them doing that for sure.
I think the next announcement from EA that we're going to see is EA college basketball. I think, we saw football's already coming. We saw Tiger Woods now, and don't be shocked if by the end of the year we don't see, EA Sports college basketball. I mean,
I can see EA trying to corner the market too on the college stuff as well. I mean, I can see them bringing back, like me and you, Bob, we were talking about this before. I can see them bringing back college baseball too.
Well, you say that, and that was going to be my point. I don't see them touching college basketball at all. I see 2K grabbing the college basketball license. I see EA going to college baseball. I do, and that's their foray back into the scene. And you had mentioned that you talked about 2K not having the NFL license, but they do. They just don't have the rights to make a simulation. What does that mean? And we're going to find out. People forget that announcement is coming for that probably in the next month or 2. We're going to find out real quick what that non-simulation football game is going to come from 2K. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I really do. And I don't really have a source per se that says college baseball is going to make its way back through EA. But I know they tried to get back into the game. I'll leave it at that. And it didn't work. I know that the popularity of college baseball is still really, really high right now. And it's only going to get higher. And I just think this is their foray. They're going to jump back into it. They're going to make a college baseball game, and then they're going to see where the market is in 2 or 3 years and whether or not RBI baseball is still around. And that's not knocking RBI, not knocking anybody. I'm just telling you. I think if you ask me, RBI baseball goes away, EA brings back college baseball, and then it ends up becoming something else. Could be wrong, but that's what I see. But definitely keep an eye out for that 2K football non-simulation title, because I want to see where that goes. Yeah. Well, so now, Scott, you're still playing out of the park right now, sir, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Loving it. Having a great time with it. Deep into as a matter of fact, we've been talking about the Royals, deep into a Royals franchise with it. So having a lot of fun, and it's fantastic. We're excited. We're going to have Rich Grisham from Out of the Park. Yeah. He's going to be on with us Thursday night at 7. So you guys definitely want to tune in to the show Thursday night. So we're going to talk Out of the Park. And, coincidentally, that's the same night that MLB The Show will be having their live stream, their featurette that they're going to be releasing on franchise mode for MLB The Show 21. So we have a big show planned for Thursday.
Yeah, and I think it's important to take note or to make notices that Rich is coming on in the capacity to talk about sports gaming. He's not. It's not. We're going to interview and talk to him a little bit, obviously, about Out of the Park baseball franchise and the wonderful new game they just released here. We're gonna hit on that, but he's also going to be there. We're going to talk with Rich about the trailer that Scott you just mentioned and all of that. And then I also want to put Chris on the spotlight when Rich comes on, because Chris, I know you have a copy of Out of the Park baseball right now, but it's really not your thing. You've talked about that before. You've mentioned it before. You enjoy it, but you're more of a give me a controller, let me decide what happens on the field type of guy. So I want you to I want you and Rich to have a conversation on air live about what it would take for you to become a massive diehard fan of Out of the Park baseball. You willing to do that?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I guess I have no choice now, right?
Yeah, if you say no, you're just not invited to the show that night. That's it. Yeah. So
yeah, I'll do it. I've definitely played this year's a little bit. It's interesting. I mean, it's definitely the in-depth nature of it is very right up my alley. But yeah, I definitely prefer the more hands-on thing. I'm also not a PC gamer, so that just that alone is hard enough for me to get my head wrapped around. Using a keyboard and all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't never really been my forte. I like having that controller in my hands, and I've always been a console guy since I was a little kid, even. Yeah. So, but it definitely is interesting. There's some user interface stuff that honestly probably makes me more agitated with Out of the Park than anything else. Not even necessarily what it offers. It's very in depth.
It is, and I wrote about this in my review. Not that I'm pushing a review, but you bring up a good point. There's accessibility issues with that title, and that's no knock on Out of the Park at all. But I've been playing that for this franchise now for 5, 6, 7 years, and there's still things I'm learning this year. It's like, oh hell, that's how you do that. So, but in their defense, and I don't know, I think defense may be the wrong word, but they are fully aware, and they're trying to streamline the process and make it more kind of drop and click and just an easier interface. And they've done that this year. There's still a ways to go. And like I said, I would love to see a hybrid of being able to play the game and all the offerings that they put within the title. That would be amazing. But yeah, we're not there yet. So.
Yeah, no, I think part of the interface issues arise because of how much they actually do offer you in that game.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on all the different screens that to simplify that down, you're going to end up with even more screens that you have to navigate between. So, it's not you can tell it's not due to a lack of they just haven't thought of it or they just don't care. It's just because there's so much that they have to fit into the game that you have to have access to, that you just start running out of areas to put stuff and better ways to make it flow and everything else like that.
Yeah, and they do offer an online manual. It needs to be updated a little bit, but they do offer a wonderful in-depth online manual, and the forums and the community for Out of the Park baseball is top flipping notch. I mean, those guys, as long as you're decent about it, they're willing to help in any way they can and direct you in whichever help you need, whichever way you need. So, all the help's there, but if you're like me, I don't want to learn how to play a video game and read a manual and go to forums. I want to pick it up and play it. And so that's kind of an issue, an ongoing issue with that franchise, but still a wonderful, wonderful title. Just deep, and there's a lot of longevity there and a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I'm loving it. I think the 3D stadiums have added a lot to it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of customizable mods out there. We talked about those before, some of the classic stadiums.
Right.
So it's very cool. And if you're a baseball fan, there's just something for everybody in there. It's just there's just a lot to it. But like Chris and you kind of spoke about, obviously, we're kind of all console gamers,
Yeah.
and I'm not a PC gamer myself, but I do love Out of the Park. That is something I do play every year. So I'll play it, in between my, my MLB The Show or whatever else I'm playing on a console, just to get that extra baseball fix, I guess you could say. And there's just so much customization that can be done with it. The classic historical leagues, and it's great. So it's going to be fun to have Rich on to talk about the game and what they're doing and what their plans are around launch this year and how many different things they're going to do. And it'll be cool to touch base with him on that. And Rich is a big baseball gamer, big baseball
Absolutely, he is,
sports
yeah.
gamer in general. So
Yeah.
it'll be fun to get his take on MLB The Show, his take on the Tiger Woods and the PGA Tour thing, NCAA. We'll talk everything with Rich. So, he's obviously, with Out of the Park, but he also does the Press Row podcast, and he's been around for a long time. So I respect a lot of the work that he's done over the years. So it'll be a lot of fun. Very, very excited to talk to Rich on here Thursday.
Yeah, it should be a hell of an hour and a half with Rich. So, so like I said, we got some big things coming up. Got the Masters coming up this week. Got Major League Baseball coming up this week. Got the NCAA tournament that's continuing. And I was going to mention that's where I love OOTP. I throw it on one screen. I've got everything else going on the other screen. It's a perfect game for that. But yeah, so we're gonna have Rich with us coming up here, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. But we want to thank everybody who tuned in live tonight, and everybody who's gonna listen on our YouTube channel, and of course our podcast on Anchor. We appreciate everybody that takes the time to do that. We love the community. We're growing it, growing the game of baseball, we like to say, and it's big for us. But with that, I want to thank Chris Oweja, I want to thank Chase Best, and I want to thank Scott, well, to a degree, Scott Spindler for being with us. They'll be with us back on Thursday night, but with nothing left to said, everybody, you guys have a wonderful night. Everybody out there, have a wonderful night, and enjoy 3 days from now, Major League Baseball.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Looking forward to it.